All right, hello everybody, and welcome to our creature creator. This is a part of our game that we're creating. I am joined by Infinitesunrise, one of the game developers. How you doing, Infinite?
Hey, I'm great. How's it going?
Going good. All right, so the game plan today is we're going to show you how to make a creature in this creature creator and what it turns out looking like. So first things first, I suppose we should open up one of the creatures that we've already made so we can show you the insane power of what we've got here. So you can see here in the top left, we've got the image selected. And then we've got the sprite sheet with each individual panel. What is the pixel size for these panels, Infinite?
So this particular creature you're looking at right here, the flying eyeball, is a 32 by 32 sprite creature. All of the sprites you see layered on this creature are 32 by 32 pixels. As you scroll down, you'll see the last couple panels don't have a white highlight. They're a little less bold. That's because the panel bolds any sprites that are in use in the character. So since all but those last two are in use, they're all bolded. That's how you know that you're using a sprite in your sprite sheet.
Right.
And actually, as you click them, you'll see that you get a white border on the creature somewhere. It's showing you where in the creature that sprite is being used. So all of the creatures in this editor at the moment, they are kind of CT scan style slices. As you move from the front of the creature to the back of the creature, oh, that's great. Yeah, if you zoom in, you can actually see the individual slices. So you build up a creature in 3D. I kind of got fancy with this one, and I actually made a 3D model of this creature before I drew it as sprites. And so I used the slices of the 3D model to be my guide in my sprite editor, but you don't have to get that crazy with it. You can do this by hand very easily. You don't have to do something advanced like that. But the principle basically is that you have this layer, and there you go. And then once you start the game, it's basically follow the leader. You're controlling the front sprite of the creature, and all the other sprites kind of follow behind it like a train. More on trains later, right?
Indeed. Yeah, so it's definitely like quite the impressive amount of process. Now, I think the most intimidating thing for this is definitely like looking over here and seeing we've got segment parts, we've got segment positions, assign image to, and then we've got edit group segments and navigation. Now I'm just going to open up another creature, and we'll look at one that should be like a little bit easier to edit, as this one is pretty set in stone with the way it looks. So let's go ahead and open a new creature.
Oh, little technical difficulty here.
Yeah.
You may have to quit the app and open it back up.
Oh yeah, no worries.
It's currently, this might be fixed by the time we release this video, but it is currently a single session environment. When you're done with whatever you're doing, it's best to close the program and reopen it if you want to do something else.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the zombie dragon. Now this guy, he's quite the beast, and you can see that he's got, this one's actually got legs. And with the legs, we're going to be able to show off some more things. And I guess let's talk about segment parts. What can we do with this?
Yes, so if you click any of the sprites on the sprite sheet above, you'll see that you get these buttons highlighted directly below in the segments part area. The only thing you can't do at this point in this creature build is add segment, because that's what you do with the initial segment. We've already done that, so we have these options. Add before and add after. When you click those, you actually add the currently highlighted sprite to the creature wherever your yellow cursor is, and as you add those, you'll see on the creature his tail is getting longer because you're adding more tail segments to that section. You can keep going. I believe the limit might be about 100 sprites, but you can turn this guy into essentially a snake with two sets of arms in the front.
That is so funny. Look at that.
So basically, these buttons are telling the program how you want to add the new segments. You just clicked the new legs button, and what that did is it added a set of legs to the currently highlighted segment using the sprite you currently have selected. So you have a thigh, you have a shin, and you have a foot. And all three start off as being the sprite you selected. If you select a different sprite in the sheet, and then you hit that thigh, shin, or foot button in the assign image to section in the middle of the controls, you'll reassign that leg section. And I believe you just deleted the legs too.
I did. So which one is? So I would pick these ones here to
Yep.
be the leg.
I put the leg segments at the very end of the sprite sheet just for my own convenience. But yeah, you can go to the tail like you are right now, and you can hit add legs, and that will add a leg with all of the segments of the leg being the thigh. So then you'll, yeah, exactly, click the shin now, and click the shin assign button.
Oh, hang on.
Not that one.
Add, and then I click here, and then shin.
Shin, exactly. And now
And
go to
then
the
down
foot
here
and
to
say
foot, right.
And now at this point, we'll notice they're very small relative to how they should be. So you can use that profile that pops up on the right side to move around the joints in the leg. And you can position them however you want. You get this plethora of options to play around with that looks really intimidating, but the more you play around with it, the more it becomes intuitive what they each do. The knee direction is a little weird, and I think the knee direction might trip some people up what that does. Think of it as the knees can point anywhere from 90 degrees forward to negative 90 degrees backwards in a whole 180 degree arc, and that slider changes which direction they're pointing. And yeah, take a look at those knees as you're moving the slider. You can see exactly what they do. If you want a creature that has like what looks
deer
like
legs or like a
exactly,
mantis, yeah.
Yeah, or like a cat or something, that's what their back legs would be. It's faking it, of course, because cats actually have legs just like ours, with different like segments, but this is how we fake it in this program.
Right.
So, and yeah, you can make a absolutely terrifying hellspawn, and for the time being, you can attach the legs anywhere in that 2D plane you want them to be, so you can have them not be attached to the creature currently. That might not be the case going forward, but you can do that right now. So the last three sliders on the limb profile panel control animation settings. So if you actually please do hit play right now, let's see how this abomination moves. Oh my lord!
The stepping so high, it's perfect.
Please, it hurts. End me now.
It's amazing. You can see
So
the
it looks
leg is stuck up
it looks
there
like
for now.
something out of Act 4 of Diablo 2.
Just amazing. Oh
All
my
right,
goodness.
please hit escape on that sucker.
Yeah. Okay.
So those settings at the bottom, the step distance is how far your creature will move before a limb feels compelled to step. So you can drag that limb really far behind before you step with it, or you can step constantly, really quickly. The step height you just saw, if you have a really, so you have a very low step time, and what happens is that last limb actually never gets a chance to step because all the other limbs are stepping. Yeah, exactly. So now he's figure skating permanently, and so are the front limbs now too.
Because they're all tied to one another essentially.
They're all waiting for the same moment to step, but those moments are all being monopolized by his two left limbs in the front.
Right. So in order to fix that, we would increase the step.
Bring step
speed?
distance to about 0.5, I would say, for distance.
Okay.
Step height. So step height, I would always recommend having step height be about 1 or less, unless you have an extreme creature that you want to do something particular with. So we made it really, you're able to overdrive it a lot because I figured that some creature creators might have some unique ideas they want to implement with that step height. So but just so you know, 1 is about average. I wouldn't exceed 1. And step speed, I'd say about 0.5 is healthy.
Okay.
Now these recommendations will change the more limbs you add to your creature. So I'm giving you like 4-limb creature recommendations.
Right.
If your creature has 80 limbs, and that is something that is currently doable in the editor, you're gonna want a really quick step speed, a short step, height, to make sure that all the limbs have time to step.
Right.
Because otherwise, what happens is the way that the creature currently evaluates is all the limbs get evaluated from front to back, and any limb that's ready to step will take its step. And if there's not enough time for all the limbs to take their step, the back limbs will never get their chance. So keep that in mind with those sliders. It might not allow you to make more extreme creature types. If that becomes a pain point, let us know, of course. We can always work with that.
Yep, there's lots of things that we're going to be able to adjust, of course.
Like the snoot. And one thing I want to point out here, actually, this is a great point to move to our next topic.
Mm-hmm.
segment groups. So if you go over to the left side panel, you'll see that edit segment groups section on the left panel. That's what alters those red markers you see. So those red markers are surrounding all of the sprites of the head.
Right.
That is segment group 0. What segment groups do is they define, at the moment, they define a linear segment of the creature. By linear, I mean it's not follow the leader. They move as if they're one physical object, like a car or a box or a rod, you know? So it's not like a snake. So when the creature moves, its head moves in concert. It doesn't move like a slithery snake. The rest of its body will move like a snake, except for 3 segments on its rear hips. And I made that group, that's the second group on the creature.
Right.
Because I didn't like how its hips were slithering as well. That should be a big hip bone. And so I made those a second segment group. So as you move around with this creature, actually if you hit play right now again and let this hell horror move some more. Yeah, notice its big long crocodile snoot now is moving as one piece because we've defined it as a single segment group. And you can't really tell, but the back hips are moving in concert as well. You can tell more when you turn it off, and that's why I added it.
Right.
I have never seen this creature looking this terrifying.
He's definitely a little bit different from how he used to be, that's for sure. Let's go ahead and turn off the segment just to show what that looks like as a comparison.
If you go backwards or forwards on the creature, you'll highlight the segment group again. Yep, and hit forget.
All right.
Yeah, and actually go back to the hips too. Go back to the rear set of legs. If you click, yeah, you can forget that group too.
All right. There we go.
So now he's going to be completely slithery snake. So now if we play, you'll notice the difference. Look at that.
Very, very bendy.
Rubber snoot, exactly. And his hips are kind of bending a little more than they would otherwise.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that is very clear. Cool. So, what happens if we make the whole thing one segment?
Well, you can find out if you want. I've tried it. It's very hard to control. Because when you make a linear segment group, there actually is.
Uh-oh, what have I done?
I don't know what you're doing now.
Managed to. Is there a control Z on this thing?
Look even more terrifying. There's no control. So that's the fun part. There's no control Z.
It appears that I took one of the individual pieces and just destroyed him. But that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and launch into another creature with these rigid segments more clearly thrown out there. So I'll be right back with that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the train.
Yep.
As we continue here.
Alias, this is not a train. This is a choo-choo.
I apologize.
Learn the difference. So the choo-choo is composed almost entirely of linear segments. As you can tell, there are 4 linear segments on this choo-choo, and they should be fairly obvious. And yeah, take one more tight turn. We'll see one fun side effect of linear segment groups is here you go. Is that internally the creature actually is still a slithery snake. It's only using the last segment and the first segment of the group to determine where the interim segments are. So if you can manage to get the last segment really close to the first segment, you can make it look really funky for a moment. So that's just a trade-off of the way that the creatures work. Another thing that this creature, so to speak, has that the other ones didn't, that you probably already noticed, is wheels. Those are not funky limbs that I've hacked to be looking like wheels. Those are literally wheels. You might not be able to tell with the compression of this video, but they do spin around. The choo-choo train, there we go. The choo-choo train might not always bounce like this. We might allow you to have different idle animations. Right now, all of our creatures bounce, because why not? Actually, if you go back to edit mode, I can, and then use the arrow keys to go back to one of the segments with a wheel on it. You'll see the wheel editor, the appendage editor. There you go. So this is what the wheel editor looks like. Let's move to the front of the train.
Oh, sure thing.
It'll be way more obvious. Yeah. Oh yeah. The other thing is, we'll go the long way this time. But if you go to the front of the creature, it'll loop around to the back and vice versa.
Nice.
So you can, yeah. So here we go. So here's the back wheel of the choo-choo of the locomotive. So you can do the X offset from the center of the creature, of where the wheel is. You can also do the Y offset. The Y offset is important because really you should be putting your wheel in the middle of your sprite in the sprite sheet, because it's a wheel. It has to rotate evenly. If you don't, for some reason, you can actually fix that with the Y offset. That should cause, what you just did there, should cause the wheel to rotate erratically around an invisible axle where it still should exist. So wheel width and wheel density are interesting. They'll have to both be turned up to see the effect. So bring width all the way up and now start cranking wheel density. So wheel density, I guess we can't see with the wheel up there. I guess bring it back down in Y and we can see on the ground. Yeah, there we go. So wheel density is the number of sprites that are rendered per game unit. So 10 is the maximum and 1 is the minimum. If you just want a simple 1 sprite wheel, have your wheel width be 0 and your wheel density be 1, and you'll just have 1 sprite. But if you want to, say, make a monster truck that has big tires, you'll want to layer that up and make it bigger. These sprites do have transparency, so if you have spokes and width, you will be able to see through the wheel to the other side, like you probably want to.
Right. So maybe we should check on one of the other wheels and see how that looks when it's wider.
Yeah. We can up the density there, wheel width and wheel like that. So
right.
You know, it ends up looking like a rolling pin if you want that look. You know.
Very cool. And yeah, I imagine that there's going to be some other tricks that we're going to be able to pull with wheels in the future as well, as these ones are a little bit of an earlier access design thing that we pretty much very recently added in.
And one thing I've noticed you groping with that I also grope with is the sliders too. We're working on making better sliders. At the moment, the Unity sliders are not the most responsive. Sometimes they'll miss your clicks.
Mm-hmm.
So we are aware of that, just so you guys know.
Yep, something to work on. Okay, so that's a lot of the creature navigation and just like playing around with all these different things. Are there any other things in here that we should play with before we get into creature creating?
There are a few more important bits. So the navigation panel toward the bottom of that area, you'll see previous segment, next segment. That's just for mousing around between segments, but you'll also see that spread button. If you click spread right now, boom, you get an exploded view of your creature. It makes editing worlds easier. The creature sprites always render facing camera, and the guides always render facing forward in the creature, so sometimes it can be hard to tell what sprite you're looking at. The spread can be increased with those plus and minus buttons next to the spread button. I bring it up to like 8 when I'm editing this particular creature. It helps a lot. And at this resolution, zoom or whatever you want to call, you can also see that I have little pieces between the locomotives, between the cars. You can also see that, like, on the trucks on the bottom of the wheels of the rail cars, I have, like one segment between each wheel. So this helped me like space out things properly.
Right.
And actually, it's so long that it actually runs off the world edge there. You see.
Yep.
But yeah, so definitely do play with spread. The interface can be a little buggy when you go back and forth between spread right now, so we're working to improve that. Just know that when you jump back and forth between them, if you just mouse to a new segment after you jump between them, everything resets itself and re-renders.
Right. It seems pretty simple to fix. Even just using the arrow keys seems to work as well.
If you hit start spin, yeah, perfectly. You will get a nice preview of what your creature looks like in 3D, and we can notice what we've done to the wheels. We've completely derailed this train.
It's a little bit destroyed, for sure.
And if you click start walk cycle, this creature doesn't have much of a walk cycle, so to speak, but if your creature has limbs, this will allow you not only to see what it looks like, you will be able to edit the limbs in real time while you watch this. Yeah, so actually the wheel editing, yep, there you go. You're actually changing the width of that wheel as it runs. It does have to like rebuild the creature very quickly. It takes about a half a frame. Like you'll see like a little glitch while you change things if you're changing limbs, and then it'll go back to its regular walk cycle.
Right.
So yeah, so this is a great way if you're finishing your creature up and you want to do fine tuning. This is a great way to do it.
That's super cool. That's really, really nice to see. Okay, so with all that, is there anything else here to go off of for the sheet? I think that everything is just about covered.
About that, yeah. So the segment position stuff should be fairly intuitive. Move segment forward and move segment backwards do exactly that to the segment you currently have highlighted in yellow. More space before and less space before do exactly what they sound like too. A matter of fact, the train, every single sprite on the train, I hit less space before once. So the train is actually more compact than a default creature. I did that because it's a linear creature. You could see through the ceilings and stuff of the train cars if they were too spaced apart.
Right.
So yeah, so I brought them together. So like if you're doing like a solid object and you want to make sure that everything's tight, you can do like a little less space before. That also works in spread view, but you'll get like, say you're spreading times 8, you'll get it'll show you less space, but less space times 8. You know, so like yeah, it does work in spread view as well. It just gives you a spread version of what you're editing.
Right. You can see you can really cram things together.
Oh yeah, you
Tighten
can bring
things
it to.
up.
I believe it does go down to 0. You can have like 100 sprites stuck in what looks like one sprite if you're crazy like that.
If you really, really want to cram in a lot of detail, the option is there to do so.
These creatures are very crammable. You can cram much information into them. Yes.
Yeah, that is just very, very impressive, the amount of detail you can throw on. And the fact that you can repeat and use these same tiles that you've made just to add in like additional detail is really, really cool. Not to mention, you could just put that detail in with whatever sprite you create. So,
Exactly.
Speaking of making your own sprite, that is currently the only way to get your own creatures. In the future, we will have a really fancy shop where all of everybody's creations are going to be available to one another, and you'll be able to mix and match and create your own abominations and or cute things, whatever you want to make. Basically, everything is going to be basically commingling, so you can have just a super advanced creature creator, whether you're a creative or just want to mess around with the program. There's going to be something for everybody.
Yeah, it's super exciting. One thing I do want to throw out is, it is going to be a little buggy at first. This is an alpha. You will run into issues. We're aware of a lot of them already too, but if something's bugging you, let us know. If it's on the list, it'll get bumped up. If it's not on the list, it will get added to the list for sure.
Indeed. Yeah, this is definitely an early access variant, and a lot of the things that you've even seen here are very likely to change. There's just so many things that we want to do with this, and we've got a really powerful base that we're working with, and things are just going to continue to get more and more advanced, more and more options for people, and hopefully easier and easier to use as well.
Yes, about the changing interface, yeah, I'm sure we'll throw updates on this video when things change, but, if it goes on long enough, we might even make another video for the next version of this interface, but this is what we've got right now.
Right. All right. So I think the last step here is just to show how you make a creature from scratch. This is just going to be either like a time lapse or like a time skip, one of the two, but I personally recommend the program Asaprite. However, any free art program will work, and we'll show 2 different creatures. I'm going to actually quickly throw together a creature and bring it into the program. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that right now. First things first, we are going to make our canvas. This is Asaprite. And right now we've got the width and height set to 128 pixels. Your pixel canvas. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, so my train was 32 pixels by 32 pixels. Just so the audience knows, you can do any square ratio you want. So we're going to go with 128 here, but if you want to go with 256, if you're that crazy, or if you want to go with 8x8, those are all acceptable.
Yep. Bigger basically just means more detail for the most part. And it does have some influence on size as well. Is that correct?
It does, yeah. There is a pixel to world ratio in game. It's currently 1 to 32. So a 32 pixel wide creature is 1 game unit wide.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, this is going to be a very substantially sized creature. And since we've got 128 height, that one's going to stay the same this whole time. But as I continue to make my creature larger and larger, I'm going to need more width. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give myself 20 panels to work with for now. And we'll probably go higher from there. So we're just going to go 128. Hang on, 128 times 20. And that is 2,560. So we're just gonna go to. Oh.
Wow, Alias, you're so good with math.
Wow, aren't I? 2560. There we go. All right, so click OK, and you can see we now have our canvas. And one of the really nice parts about using Aseprite is I can apply a grid. And I can do the exact same thing. So once again, we're using. So we're gonna set it by 128 by 128. And you can see now we've got these really clean lines here to tell us exactly where we're going. And we just got to draw inside the lines. So I am going to make a Hercules beetle. That is the plan. And let's just go ahead and bring up an image. And I'm just going to like work with that. Can I get a reference image on here? I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay. That is.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah.
Those are nasty.
They're big guys. Look at them. All right, so yeah, I've just got that on the other screen here, and I'm gonna be able to very easily grab like the colors and the color palette, and I might actually mess around with the color palette. I think I want mine to be blue.
Those legs are gonna look great.
Yeah, I like the way the legs look. There's a lot of detail for a little bug. I love beetles. They're really cool. So the first, so basically the way we're going to be drawing this is we got to look at the front of the creature, and then I have to build backward, and it's a bit of a counterintuitive way to do art, but it actually makes it really, really easy because a lot of the time you're just drawing little circles. All right, so we've managed to complete our sprite and put everything together, and I'm pretty happy with how it looks. This is like a 2-hour project, and yeah, it's like it's got a little bit of jank. We encountered some fresh bugs, but you know, we'll be
No pun intended.
yeah, we'll be squashing all of them, but the one on screen here. This little guy can stick around, and actually, it's a very large sprite at 128 by 128.
Yes, this is actually the largest creature we have created to date.
Yeah.
It's a very big bug. It will squash you, in fact.
Yeah, it's really cool though, because I was able to utilize like a lot of the really handy stuff in Sprite to make it like a relatively quick process, but you could literally just draw like a bunch of circles and it would come to life. It's absolutely incredible what you can do with this project, and hopefully you come up with some cool builds yourself. If you're willing to share them, we will probably be adding most of the creations into a shop, so that way in-game shop, no currency required other than it in-game.
And please don't be shy. Anything you want to make, it's not too hard to create with this once you get the hang of it. And like Alias said, it can be a series of circles, it can be a snake, or if you have some crazy idea you want to go ham with, yeah,
push it to the limit. See what you can do. And yeah, I imagine you could probably even do some AI art shenanigans potentially for anybody looking to do that.
Oh no, it's too late. Catch it in the bag.
But yeah, that's gonna be all. Hopefully this excites some people, and I will just briefly show you the Sprite of this project. You can see that we have just this series of pixels here, and it's very, very simple. You can see there's the face, and here's all the body segments, and some gradients.
To impress the point, you can think of it as if you put the creature through a CAT scan, and you just took slices of its body from the front to the back. The only exception, of course, is the appendages, and what you're looking at right here is the upper thigh, the quote-unquote shin of the leg, and the quote-unquote foot of the insect. So yeah, those are always laid out right to left like this, and then they're pretty easy to position on the creature once they're in place.
Right. And yeah, I do recommend using Sprite. It's just incredibly easy to use. There's lots of power in it. But if you want a free option, you could use GIMP or even Paint. Here is a project made in GIMP by Infinite. This is the Choo Choo Train, which you saw earlier. If you want to talk to your process a little bit here, feel free.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm a total masochist, and so GIMP is my graphic editor of choice generally. What I did here was, yeah, I created a really nice contrasty, go back and forth between like, you know, pink, blue background that would help me know exactly what spread I was working on. That's one layer, and there's just one other layer. The other layer is just the sprites on top of it. At the very end of the sheet here, you've got a bunch of different wheel types. I actually didn't use a few of those wheels. I made a couple that I could play around with. Because it's a PNG image, it's not that big. You don't have to feel too bad about using a lot of real estate with it. It's just nice and compact. Yeah, and as you see here, like I reused some of the assets, like the caboose has a ladder on both ends. Well, there's only one ladder sprite there. I just put the sprite a second time in the back of the caboose. So you can reuse sprites, you can not use sprites if you don't want to, you can use them and then stop using them. It's, you know, recycle them as you want. The passenger car of the train is actually about, I think, like 25, 30 sprites long, but the only sprite it uses are the 6 that you see right there, those yellow ones. So you can do cool tricks like that. It's completely really up to you how you do this. And you'll notice that Alias and I, we make our sprite sheets linearly from left to right, one row. You don't need to do that. Your sprite sheet can be rectangular, your sprite sheet can be vertical, as long as all the cells are the same size. That's all it's got to be.
Yeah, and to speak to that, this just feels like a pretty easy way to organize things. But yeah, you could line them up any way you want. Just make sure you've got them in that correct square size. Correct? Is that part of it? Okay.
So I you know, go ahead and experiment with rectangular stuff. No promises. It might break everything.
Yep.
But try it. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, let us know. And even in this project, you were talking about how you can repeat segments. We repeated the segment, like pretty much every single body segment twice here. And that can save you a lot of legwork, especially if you're doing a really simple design. It definitely can make things go a lot faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be everything. Thank you very much for somehow making it through this video. And I hope you're inspired to now go and try the game thing.
Go forth, create, enjoy.
Do it.